All right, let's dive into something we've all been through. That super awkward, kind of cringy moment. You just met someone, you shook their hand, and their name has completely, utterly vanished from your mind. It's frustrating, right? But from a psychology standpoint, it is absolutely fascinating. You know exactly the feeling I'm talking about. There's a handshake, a little small talk. They say, "Hi, and maybe 30 seconds later, your brain is just a blank slate. You're trying so hard to rewind the tape, but nope, it's gone. Was it Jeff? John? Something with a J? And that little bit of panic starts to bubble up. But here is the big takeaway. The good news. If this happens to you all the time, you're not rude, and I promise your memory isn't broken. Forgetting a name right after you hear it, well, that isn't a glitch. It's actually a feature of how your brain is designed to work. It's all about prioritizing certain kinds of information over others. So let's get into it. Why is a simple name so ridiculously slippery? I mean, why is it so hard for our brains to just hang on to it? It really all comes down to how our brain decides what's important enough to file away. You see, when you first meet someone, their name to your brain is what's called arbitrary data. Think about it. It's just a random sound, a word that has zero connection to anything. You already know their face is new, you don't know their story, so the name just kind of floats there all by itself with nothing to stick to. This right here is the perfect way to understand it. It's the famous Baker-Baker paradox. It is so much easier to remember that a man is a baker than to remember his name is Baker. But why? Well, because the job baker comes with all this context. You can immediately picture it, a person in a chef's hat, maybe with flour on their apron, the smell of bread. But the name baker, it's just a word, an abstract label. There's no context, no mental hook, so no memory. Okay, so it's not just about the mechanics of memory. There's another huge piece to this puzzle. It's also about where your attention is actually pointed in that critical moment when you're being introduced. And let's be honest, we're often not nearly as present as we think we are. So often, while someone is literally saying their name to us, we're not really listening. We're totally stuck inside our own heads. That little voice of social anxiety kicks into high gear. We're busy thinking about making a good impression or what we're going to say next, and their name just breezes right on by because our mental spotlight is pointed directly at ourselves. A massive chunk of our brain power is being spent on our own performance, on that anxiety and planning our next move. And what's left over for actually listening to, processing, and storing their name? A tiny little sliver, maybe 25%. The name never even had a fighting chance. Okay, so we get it. We know why it happens. But how do we actually fight back against our own brain? Well, the great news is there are some really simple, really powerful techniques you can start using today to turn that fleeting sound into a memory that actually sticks. Here it is, your new toolkit. Step 1, repeat it. The second you hear their name, say it back out loud. "Sarah, so nice to meet you." That simple act forces your brain to pay attention. Step 2, associate right away. Create a mental hook. Sarah, like Sarah Jessica Parker, or Sarah, like my best friend from college. You're basically linking that random piece of data to a file that already exists in your brain. And finally, step 3, use it. Try to weave their name into the conversation one more time. "So, Sarah, what brought you here tonight?" Every single step builds a stronger and stronger connection in your brain. Now, these tricks are incredibly useful, but this whole debate goes so much deeper than just a simple memory hack. It's really about understanding the incredible power that a person's name actually holds. Seriously, think about it for a second. When someone you just met remembers your name later on, how does that feel? It feels pretty great, right? It makes you feel seen. It makes you feel respected, like you matter. It's this tiny little signal that says, "Hey, I was paying attention to you. You made an impression." It is one of the most fundamental building blocks of real human connection. The famous Dale Carnegie said that a person's name is the sweetest and most important sound to that person in any language. When you make that little bit of extra effort to remember it, you are validating who they are. You're telling them without saying a word that they are important enough for you to remember. It's such a tiny effort, but it has a massive, massive impact. I'm just going to leave you with this question to think about. The next introduction you have isn't just a boring social ritual, it's a real opportunity. It's a choice to shift your focus from yourself to the person standing right in front of you, a choice to not just hear a random sound, but to consciously and deliberately create the connection. If this felt uncomfortably accurate, subscribe to the channel for more psychology that finally makes sense.